And I think that America is on such a downward path because of morality, or the lack of morality that America is going through right now. Supreme Court redefining marriage, for example. Churches condoning sin. This is all the things that Jeremiah prophesied about in his book. Isaiah prophesied about. Woe to them that call darkness light and that put bitter for sweet.
Hey, it's time for this week's Pastors Forum. I'm Byron Tyler. Glad to have you along on this edition of our program. Last week we got together with Pastor Dr. Bartholomew Orr of Brown Baptist Church in South Haven, and we talked about their annual revival they have called Updates Available. It's all behind us now, but the movement of God continues on as a result of the revival, Pastor.
We're so excited about what God is doing. We're looking forward to just a bright future. This is definitely the time for God to shine through us.
Batteries have been charged. Now it's time to do kingdom work and get busy.
That's right.
We talked about the two locations. The newest location there at 7200 Sweeney Road, acquired a couple of years ago, I believe.
Yes.
What is it like for Brown to have these two locations, and how are they growing in their ministries? Two separate locations, but one ministry. But can you distinguish a growth in each individual ministry?
It's just one church. Overall, we can see the growth. God has blessed us. Last year, it was in 2014 that we purchased it. We've already seen tremendous growth. So far, the first half of the year, we saw 440-something new people join Brown.
That's encouraging.
And so each campus is full on Sundays. There are Sundays that we actually have overflow still on both campuses. And our Saturday evening service is growing as well. So overall, we can see God yet working at Brown. How
do you maintain and train leadership having two church locations?
I wish I had the magic key. But we look at that's one of the goals that is so important for us to do right now. There are about 5 things that we're stressing to our people at Brown. One of those is mentoring pastors. As I mentor other pastors, how that looks within our church is the leadership of the church mentoring and training up, recruiting new leaders. My thing to the staff and other leaders is put yourself out of a job. Everyone ought to have someone that they are yet bringing up.
When you say mentoring younger pastors under yourself, what does that look like for you?
For me, that's spending time with some pastors and just one-on-one talking about ministry, how things are going, letting us be a soundboard off of each other to talk about even best practices, what we're doing, how things are going, how is our private life, our family life. Just a time of accountability as well as to offer any kind of advice.
You're a young man, and you've already been pastoring for over, 26, 27 years
26
now?
years, 26 and a half years.
God has raised you up. You have a wealth of experience pastoring at one location for these 26 years, 26 and a half years. That has to be a great resource for a lot of younger pastors.
Over the years, you kind of just hone things and kind of just package things. And I'm at a point now where I have a philosophy of ministry. I have a practice of ministry in terms of what we do, how we do it, why we do what we do. And that is what I love sharing with other young pastors.
So it's really your vision of ministry, what God's given you.
What God has given me over these years. I like Rick Warren's shape, that God uses our spiritual gifts, our heart, abilities, personality, and experiences to shape us and make us unique. And I think God has given us some experiences. We've been able to be at one church for all of these years. We've actually seen this church grow from a very small church, 75 people in attendance, to where we are now, probably 4,500, 5,000 in attendance. So,
what would you like to see happen, Bartholomew, as Brown engages the communities of DeSoto County and beyond?
Our goal now, beyond mentoring pastors, our goal is making disciples, because I believe that we have won the numbers game. So we have a mass multitude coming to church. But now it's time for us to go deeper with those individuals in terms of just making disciples of them so that they can be a reproducer of Jesus Christ in their homes, in their communities. Can you imagine? I said this in a sermon several years back. Many people talk about one church in two locations, but can you imagine one church in 4,500 locations? If we can really have disciples that leave every Sunday with the mindset that I want to be a disciple, I want to learn His Word, live His Word, lead other folks to His Word, and lead other folks to Christ, and they go out with that, can you imagine the impact that would happen?
It's startling to even think about.
Yes. So making disciples and then champion the message of Christ. I think we've gotten away from the gospel of Jesus Christ. People have made the cross so pretty. They have made the cross so of prosperity. And yet the gospel of Christ is a bloody cross. He paid a great sacrifice. He is the way, the only way. And I think the church has to get back to champion the true message of Christ. And then the final two for Brown is advancing missions, because God has called us, Acts 1 and 8, to be witnesses, Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, uttermost parts of the world. So every church ought to be doing missions, not only on a local basis, but nationally and internationally as well. And then finally, modeling holistic ministry. The church is there, as Matthew 9:35, to preach, teach, and heal. So how can we bring healing to the community that we're also preaching and teaching to?
Talking about international missions, you traveled, was it last year, with a group of pastors to Brazil?
Yes, we had a wonderful time. Matter of fact, we are going again to Brazil. We're expanding, so we're bringing in some other pastors along with us this time, because that was our whole goal in starting, that we wanted to energize, mobilize more pastors and get them involved in missions.
What would you consider some of your personal challenges to your ministry?
Oh, my goodness. Personal challenges. Staying sharp. I'll just say it like that. Staying sharp. It's so easy. Success can be its biggest enemy, because so oftentimes when you feel as if that you're successful, that you have arrived, it's so easy to slack up on some of the basic routine things that really help keep you sharp. And it's like the book of Ecclesiastes says, dull the blade, you're going to have to work even harder. So it's so important for ministers to just stay sharp when it comes to quiet time, when it comes to making sure that we're spending that time in prayer, in the Word of God, that we're on our knees before God.
Of course, you want to take care of the spirit, and something else I can very obviously see that you've been taking care of is your physical self, which is important. Some pastors let that go because they're so busy in the work. I mean, you mentioned that you don't eat meat last time we were together.
And that's a whole nother issue as well. Making sure that we have that time of exercising, that time of making sure that we are tending to our physical bodies.
Do you have a particular routine that you do throughout the week?
I try. I appreciate my wife, Valerie, for trying to stay on top of things, but we try to exercise 3 to 5 times a week.
Walking, running, jumping rope?
For me, it's mostly walking and cardiac and some stretching.
What would be the most misunderstood thing about Bartholomew Orr that folks really don't know about you?
Wow, Byron, you're hitting me with some tough questions today. I've said this once at Brown. My core values are humility, integrity, and excellence. We want to remain humble. We want to always be a minister of integrity where we are living what we preach and doing the very best that we can do. I've shared with Brown, there are times that I struggle with humility. It's so easy, especially with people patting you on the back, with people calling your name, recognizing you. It's so easy to pride. It's so easy. And you have to constantly remind yourself that, hey, the way is humility.
Have there been times that you get discouraged and thought about quitting the ministry? And how do you handle those down times?
I think every pastor who have ever pastored one day have thought about quitting the ministry. Ministry is tough. You're dealing with individuals. At Brown, I've told them over and over again, my hardest job in ministry is refereeing. That's been my hardest job for these 26 years, is refereeing, keeping church folks on the same page without killing each other. There are times when that can get frustrating. It can get overwhelming. And yet I'm learning in my young years that I need to take breaks more often and really get away and kind of just unwind because, like I said, ministry is tough.
What's the most rewarding thing for you when it comes to your family?
Oh, my goodness. All of our sons are pretty much, we've practically raised all of our 4 sons. We have a 23, 21, 19-year-old, 17-year-old. So our 17-year-old, this is his last year of high school. So he'll be graduating. My wife and I will have an empty nest.
Empty nesters.
Hey, but we do have our first grandson that's already here, Trey. He is Bartholomew Orr the third.
I've seen Trey. He is a handsome young man.
And you know what? He loves his poppy.
Are you a poppy?
Yes.
I'm a poppy.
And he loves preaching already. So I got great videos of him in a suit coat with a tie, and he is going to town. So
I love it.
That's, being able to just see how God has allowed us to grow our family, that generation continues on.
In what ways has the ministry drawn you and Valerie, do you think, closer together?
One of the best things I think for Valerie and myself is getting to that point where we understand ministry. We understand the need for each other if we're going to do ministry. Oftentimes, pastors feel as if we can do it all by ourselves. There is no way that we can do it by ourselves. Valerie has been that rock for me. She has been that strength that I've needed when I needed it the most. And that early on in the ministry, I tried to do it all. It came a point where I realized, you know what? I have this lady here that is sharing my life with me, and that's been the biggest joy of just doing it together.
Have there been times when the ministry has possibly put a wedge between you and Valerie?
Like I said early on, this is one thing that I tell young preachers all the time. Your family is your first ministry. Early on, I didn't take that advice. Early on, it was like you got to do everything for the ministry. You have to be there for everything. You have to do everything. And I think it was during those early years, it put a strain on us. I'm glad I always thank her that she didn't leave me in those early years.
I like that. How do you feel about the current condition of our nation and events happening in our world today?
Our nation, Byron, these are dark times. America really need to understand that the Bible is right. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. And I think that America is on such a downward path because of morality or the lack of morality that America is going through right now. Supreme Court redefining marriage, for example. Churches condoning sin. This is all the things that Jeremiah prophesied about in his book, Isaiah prophesied about. Woe to them that call darkness light and that put bitter for sweet. And these are the times that our nation finds herself in. That is why we need such a revival in America. And I believe that it's going to start with the individual and in the church house.
In what ways have you found encouragement and strength in God and His Word despite this chaos we're talking about?
I really see people waking up. I see people coming to a point where they understand that even when it comes to politics, it's not about a party, but it's about principles. It's about the Word of God. It's about what are we going to stand on and what is needed to really guide us. That's been one of the rewarding things is actually just seeing the Word of God work in the lives of individuals. We're reading through the Bible this year through the New Living Translation. I have people 60 and 70 years old telling me that they've never read the Bible, and now they're reading the Bible for themselves for the first time, and how it is just awakening them.
That's exciting for you as a pastor.
Oh, yes.
Well, Brown Missionary Baptist Church, one church, two locations, 980 State Line Road and also 7200 Sweeney Road in South Haven. For more information, go to the website, which is
brownbaptist.org.
Bartholomew, it is always my joy to have you here on Pastor's Forum.
Appreciate it, Byron.
Thanks for being our guest these past 2 weeks.
Thank you very much.
Friends, that's all the time we have on this week's Pastor's Forum. Thanks for stopping by. I'm Byron Tyler. Hey, we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.